Al Jazeera has obtained a significant leak of documents from Britain's opposition Labour Party. The files expose the inner workings of the organisation during one of its most turbulent eras from 2014 to 2021. The first batch of files appears to reveal how party officials determined their newly elected Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn. Phil Rees from our investigative unit reports.
The documents provide an insight into the workings of the party when it was led by Jeremy Corbyn.
Build bridges, not walls.
When he became leader, party membership doubled.
The wonderful campaign that I was involved with brought a lot of people back into politics because they believed there was something on offer for them.
But Corbyn did not control the party bureaucracy based in its London headquarters. The files show how unelected officials undermined him as leader. The leak includes a WhatsApp group of senior party management discussing Corbyn.
I'm just about to stab him.
That might be disciplinary.
Worth it, though.
Nothing in the rules about stabbing. Poor form, though.
The files show how officials used the party's disciplinary process to suspend local branches that supported Corbyn. In Wallasey, in the northwest of England, allegations of homophobic abuse were levelled at pro-Corbyn supporters after a meeting in June 2016.
I did not see any limp wrist gestures, and there were no homophobic comments made about the MP.
The story was leaked to the national media and used to suspend the local Wallasey party.
If you have an inner core of 6, 8 or 10 people nationally saying who can be a candidate, saying who can be a member, then you control the body politic of one of the major parties in this country. And I find that is undemocratic. Basically, it's a coup by a group of people to take over one of the major political parties in Britain.
In Brighton, on England's south coast, Labour's legal unit is intent on overturning the victory of the pro-Corbyn faction at an annual general meeting.
We all had 65% of the vote. 2 in 3 people attending it, a record turnout, a record majority, had won. Fantastic.
A member of the party's governance and legal unit writes to her boss.
What's your feeling on Brighton?
The head of the legal unit replies.
Exactly what you proposed. Overturn the annual general meeting, deal with individuals, while we worry about applying the rules correctly and legal niceties.
The woman answers.
I say act now and worry about those things later.
The Labour Party denies this version of events. It says it's a rules-based organisation that properly followed its own rules. The files also reveal how abusive messaging is used by those outside the party hierarchy to discredit rivals. Pro-Corbyn supporter Damien McCarthy is attacked online, and then his father is sent a dossier including the threatening tweets.
The dossier was sent through to my pa's private email address. And that dossier was horrendous reading. It was awful. My dad read those terrible comments and he was upset about that. And he died not long after that.
Phil Rees, Al Jazeera, London.
Let's bring in Matt Kennard. He's a former director of the Centre for Investigative Journalism in London and now chief investigator at Declassified UK and joins us from London. Good to have you with us. Does anything in this documentary, in this report, does it surprise you? What does it tell us that we didn't already know?
It tells us a lot. I mean, it's an incredible piece of journalism. I watched the documentary earlier and it felt like I was watching a documentary about the mafia. Not a political party, or it felt like I was looking at a Gambino crime family in New York or something, because it was thuggish behaviour across the board of the unelected bureaucracy of the Labour Party. They were at war with elected officials and elected MPs and at war with their own members because they wanted to destroy the movement behind Jeremy Corbyn. And that has big ramifications for British politics, because if you've got the main opposition party, which is being run by a clique and trying to destroy the elected MPs and the elected officials and destroy the membership, which had grown to 600,000 under Jeremy Corbyn. It was the biggest party in Western Europe. What kind of democracy do you have? So what Al Jazeera's investigation provides is the evidence that many people suspected was there, but it hasn't previously come out, because it was obvious during Jeremy Corbyn's leadership of the Labour Party that there was an avalanche of sabotage and subversion of his leadership by right-wing MPs and the bureaucracy, but we didn't actually have the evidence. Now we have the evidence.
Why didn't they like him?
Why didn't they like Jeremy Corbyn? Well, the Labour Party is part of the British establishment, and the British establishment was threatened by Jeremy Corbyn at a level that was historic. He threatened every element of the British establishment. He wanted to stop arms to Saudi Arabia. He wanted to stop arms to Israel. He wanted to give money to the NHS and the welfare state and stop privatisation and stop subsidising BAE Systems, our biggest arms contractor. So every element of the British state and every element of the British establishment was threatened by Jeremy Corbyn. He was a unique historic figure. So, and actually, it's important for people to understand that the Labour Party is part of that establishment. So, and it doesn't mean that they have to actively come out and say we're part of the establishment. And often they like to say we're not part of the establishment. Of course, it's called the Labour Party. They're meant to represent the working class. But actually, when a figure like Jeremy Corbyn comes along, they had to reveal themselves and they had to reveal their true role within the British polity.
And how active would you say these unelected officials still are in the Labour Party? We've got Jeremy Corbyn wanting to return as a Labour MP. Will they let him?
I don't think they will. I don't think there's any chance of that. I think that Keir Starmer and his team and the people that pull his strings, they see their role, primarily their priority is to destroy the hope that was created by Jeremy Corbyn. Beating the Tories and getting into government is a secondary concern for them. And you see that from the start. From the start, they've gone absolutely on the attack against the left, which completely contradicts Keir Starmer's own platform that he got elected on. He presented himself as a more presentable version of Corbynism, and what he's done actually is completely tried to destroy any remnants of Corbynism in the Labour Party. And as you say, Jeremy Corbyn himself is suspended on spurious grounds. They've just suspended another Corbynite member of the NEC tonight. It's an absolute war on the left, and it's a war on the left that's used various mechanisms, the disciplinary process, spurious accusations of anti-Semitism, and it's largely worked. The Al Jazeera documentary should create a crisis of democracy in Britain, but it won't, because the establishment media won't cover it, because the establishment media is very happy with the Labour Party under Keir Starmer. What they didn't want was a Labour Party out of control under Jeremy Corbyn.
But how much damage does it do to the party itself? Not the documentary, but the split. I mean, can Labour ever get elected when it's at war with itself?
I don't think as I said, I think it's the Starmer leadership see their role as destroying any remnants of Corbynism rather than getting elected, because I can't see how it's in their interest to be constantly focused on infighting, which is what's happened since Keir Starmer's got elected. There's no vision for the country at all of the Starmer leadership, in contrast to Jeremy Corbyn, who had big ideas and enthused lots of young people and a large part of the population. There's none of that with Starmer. All you see, the only defining characteristic of Starmer's leadership of Labour is its attacks on the left and its attacks on members and its purging of members. And that is because Corbyn is a threat to the British establishment. Keir Starmer represents the British establishment. The Labour Party under his leadership represents the British establishment. So to them, it's much more important to destroy Corbynism than it is to get into power.
Matt Kennard, very interesting to speak to you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us on Al Jazeera.